All right. Hey, YouTube, I'm Lucky, and in today's news story, we're going to be talking about the topic of Destiny 2 is actually kind of dying. And I'm saying this as someone that loves Destiny 2. Clearly, I've been playing this game for 7 years now, and I don't want the game to die by any means. But if we were to look at some statistics that are brought to us here, we can see that the decline from both returning players and new players is looking pretty steep. And we could be on the verge of the death of Destiny 2. Now, this is a topic that's been brought up many times before is what will be the Destiny killer. Over the years, we talked about the Division would be the Destiny killer in D1, and then Warframe came up, and then Anthem, RIP Anthem, that was certainly not the Destiny killer. And then people also talked about Borderlands, a variety of other games in the looter shooter genre that people thought would, eventually overtake Destiny in popularity and potentially kill off the franchise because, Destiny and Destiny 2 has had a slew of problems over the course of 7 years. Bungie has been getting into sort of a good rhythm in some ways, but in other ways, they've definitely fallen short. And if we look at the numbers here, we can actually see what that is. And so right now, we'll go over Shadowkeep. Shadowkeep had from 165,000 average Steam players in October 2019 in to 107,000 players in November. So that was a decline of 34.7% of the player base. And then we have Beyond Light, we have from 99,000 average players in Steam to 2020 to 67,000 in December, so a 32% decline. So we can see normal declines from the launch of a release to the first month after. That's what this chart is about, is when a new release happens, how much of the player base is lost after the 1 month mark. And then when we look at the Witch Queen, we have 88,000 players, so significantly less for returning players, to down to 58,000 players in April, so a 51% decrease in overall playership. So they're having really poor player retention issues inside Destiny 2 right now. And I want to see what your comments are, what your opinions are. I know a lot of people watch this channel. People tell me it all the time, like, hey, Lucky, I watch your videos, but I don't even play Destiny 2 anymore. And I know that a variety of you out there are probably watching this video, wondering what's going on in Destiny or trying to keep up to date on Destiny. Maybe you're playing other games, maybe other things are going on in your life, but you want to keep up to date on the news. And this is definitely a big story, is the decline. And I want to bring up a list of issues and things that I think are probably contributing to this. And if you agree or disagree, feel free to comment down below. The first thing we'll talk about is, of course, content vaulting, taking content that's in the game that's really fun and interesting, like dungeons, like the Whisper of the Worm dungeon and raids and stuff that are really challenging and create really unique dynamics, and vaulting these things, I think, is a really bad play from Bungie. I think that this has been the start of a decline in a variety of different ways. I also think that an issue that I find, and maybe you find as well when you're playing Destiny, is there just feels like there's a lot of chores. Feels like I have the thing that I'm desiring, the armor piece, the weapon, or whatever it may be, but instead of there being some sort of challenging activity or some sort of, unique play style or build that I have to create in order to do something, I just have to sort of do this like tedious chores and do over and over and over again bounty completions and, repetitive clears of activities that I don't really want to do, like Gambit if I'm trying to get pinnacles and stuff like that. There's just a lot of chores in Destiny 2. And that seems to be a big issue, in my opinion, one that I think is probably driving a lot of people away. Let me know if you agree or disagree. The third bullet point that I'm going to bring up is recycled content. Bungie has gone pretty overboard with the recycled content at this point in time. We now have content that's been recycled out of Destiny 2, returned back into Destiny 2, like the Summoner Auto Rifle, only to be removed only just 2 seasons later. And it's like, what is going on here? Weapons are coming in and out of the loot pool that were previously here. Perks sometimes changing, sometimes not changing. The recycled content coming from D1, of course, to D2 is a little bit more enticing because, it's been quite a while, but even that is still stuff that we've seen before. And the recycled content is getting a bit crazy inside Destiny 2. And I think that that is probably a point of contention, a point of frustration for the player base, and probably leading to a bit of the decline and the lack of interest. I mean, I know some of you out there will be really interested in the reprise raid coming next season, but a good majority of people will be like, I already did that raid. Why am I going to get excited for that? The fourth reason that we're going to talk about is nothing especially interesting. You really need something to grab the community each and every season. You need that weapon, that exotic, that thing that really grabs people. And obviously, that is an issue of both power creep as well, along with that. If you make an exotic or a weapon or an armor piece or whatever so powerful that it, casts a shadow on everything else in the game, well, then that it kind of ruins, it imbalances the game quite a bit. So, but that interesting weapon or interesting armor piece, exotic, whatever it may be, really draws a lot of people in. And I feel like things have been kind of, it's almost like a sad thing to say, but things have been kind of well balanced aside from restoration lately and Solar 3.0 stuff. But the imbalance has been lately in abilities, which is a point that I think the community has said many, many times before that we don't like that to be imbalanced. We've seen this in D1 as being a very big point of contention. Ability spam is not fun in PvP, in my opinion. In PvE, it's awesome. Don't get me wrong. I love Solar 3.0 is so cool in PvE. I love all the builds and the variety of builds and everything you can do, Grandmasters, raids, whatever it may be. It's awesome. But in PvP, not so much. And let me know if you agree or disagree. The fifth point we'll go over is over monetization. It does feel like there's quite a bit of monetization in Destiny 2. Sure, they have gone the whole it's free to play, but then when you tack on everything else that you do end up paying for, it does end up being quite a bit. It's a pretty expensive game, and it's a hobbyist game, and you do invest a lot of time, and you do get a good return for your money when you think about the number of hours you put into this game versus the money you spent for that entertainment. But then when you think about when you put that time in and it was a lot of just frustration due to a whole slew of issues in the game and a lot of chores and all the other things we mentioned before, it doesn't really feel as much worth your time or worth your money anymore. And I think that's a big issue is over monetization. And the very last thing, and this is one glaring issue that Bungie has even addressed and how they're going to work towards fixing this in Lightfall, which is the new player experience right now, is abysmal. It's really, really bad. New players are coming to the game and they are beyond overwhelmed. And I don't blame them because even I, as a returning player, someone that plays this game all the time, feel overwhelmed when I actually try to take a step back and look at the full scope of everything. If I try to stay up to date on everything that's going on in the PvP world and the PvE world and lore and news and updates and everything else in the game, it's just way too much, you know? And the new player experience isn't entirely encapsulated around all of that. It's mostly just like when you start the game, is it grabbing your attention? Is it making you really interested in chasing these things? And it's just not. The story has a variety of different plot holes and everything else. It just a lot of things just don't make sense. So the new player experience is pretty rough, and that's why I think there is a serious decline in the Destiny player base. But let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think are the reasons why the player base is declining? And again, if you want to stay up to date on all the news in Destiny 2, make sure you're subscribed here with notifications on and smash the like button. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you in the next one. Later.